What's good, YouTube? This is Yamagoat Productions, and we're back again with another deck profile for you. This one's going to be on Water Monsters / the Water Engine for the GOAT format era of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're enjoying the content, please let me know by leaving a like or a comment, and if you're really enjoying it, maybe even subscribe. Without any further ado, let's get straight into this deck profile. Alright, so the first monster we're going to be running in this deck is Leviadragon, I think is how you say it, Leviadragon Daily. So we're going to be running 2 of these, and its effect is send Umi on your side of the field to the graveyard to destroy all cards on the field except for this card. This is a really pretty good effect, especially in combination with the field spell Legendary Ocean, because that card's name is treated as Umi. A Legendary Ocean brings all water monsters down 1 level, so you only have to tribute 1 card to summon this. It is really good. It's 2600 beater, and you're pretty much always going to have a Legendary Ocean on the field, like when you're summoning this card anyways, so, because it just makes it easier to bring out, so basically it's going to have like 28 because it also boosts up its attack and defense. Overall, it's a pretty good boss monster. I wouldn't run more than 2 of this though, because it can get cloggy, and you really don't need to see more than 1 or 2 of these a game. On top of that, without that on the field, the rare occasion when you get that, you get a hand without it, it's going to be a 2 tribute monster. So yeah, it's a lot for GOAT format to have 2 tributes on the field. You really want to try and stick with the 1s if you can, or the kind of like the chaos monsters where they don't need any. But yeah, that's why we run 2 of him. Don't think you need to run any more of that. One sort of techie card, Giga Gaga Gigu. Most people probably haven't even heard of this card, but I got this off of Jinzo Jones' video. I think he shows a water deck and he has this card in it, and it's perfect. It's a level 5. It has 2,400 attack points, or 2,450 attack points, excuse me. And with a Legendary Ocean on the field, you can just drop this without even tributing, and that's just a huge beater for your opponent. It's not like it can win you games. It's definitely not your main win condition, but it is nice to have just the 1 of it. So yeah, that's why we run him. Up next, we have Double Abyss Soldier, one of the best water monsters in GOAT format. If we could run 3, we would, but unfortunately, he was limited back then. If you don't know his effect, discard 1 water monster from your hand, which everything in this deck is going to be a water monster, or mostly everything. There's a couple odd ones that aren't water monsters. But yeah, discard 1 water monster from your hand to the graveyard and return 1 card on the field to your owner's hand. Key thing, it says on the field. It doesn't say if it's a monster or a spell, so it's really good. It's kind of like another breaker in some ways, and yeah, you can also just get rid of problematic monsters. Jinzo, Blackluster Soldier. It's really you can pretty much get rid of anything with it, so definitely a good thing to have it too. Moving on to the next monster, we have 1 copy of Tribe Infecting Virus. This card really needs no explanation. It's absolutely amazing in almost every GOAT format deck, and that's why you run it. After that, we got 3 floaters, Mother Grizzly. This card, it's not great in this deck. I mean, well, it is pretty good, but it's not like as good as it could be, because a lot of your monsters are over 1,500, or at least a lot of your good model water monsters. Tribe is at 16, Abyss Soldier's at 18. Thankfully, all these cards actually get the boost from the field spell too. It's kind of like Gravekeepers in that sense, but it's good, and it keeps bodies on board, so that way you contribute for Leviadragon. It can go into our next card, which is 2 copies of Amphibious Burgeroth, I think is how you say its name, MK3. I've seen a whole bunch of different water, like pretty much the first couple water monsters I showed you outside of maybe Giga Gaga Gigu are pretty standard for the water deck for GOAT format. After that, it's sort of like you get to pick what you want, what you think you should use. A lot of the times people just use pretty much the standard GOAT format monsters, and I definitely think this guy is as far as like other water monsters go that aren't any of the ones I just named, he's probably the best one, because when Umi's face up on your side of the field, you can attack directly, and you're pretty much always going to have that, and this deck is definitely more control-based because it runs a couple spells and traps that prevent your opponent's monsters from attacking. So it is really nice to just be able to poke for damage with this card like pretty much non-stop. So that's why I run him at 2. We also always want to have a target for Mother Grizzly, and he actually might be the only target for it. Yeah, he is the only target in this deck. So other than, obviously, another Mother Grizzly. So yeah, he's good at 2. We basically run 2 because, like I said, you always want to have a target for it in case you draw it by accident. Up next are 2 other cards that you see in some profiles of this deck, but you don't see them in all of them, and they are Fenrir and Aqua Spirit. These are kind of interesting choices. They're kind of like water chaos monsters. This one you banish 2 water monsters to summon, and this one you banish 1. That's why I run 1 of each of them. This guy's effect is really good though. When this card destroys an opponent's monster as a result of battle, your opponent skips their next draw phase, so that's really good. You can lock your opponent out of drawing cards. It is kind of a bummer though when you don't have enough. Like I kept top decking this card in my opening hand when I was playtesting with this deck yesterday, and you do need 2 water monsters in the graveyard to even start to use his effects, so it would be really nice if he was a 1. it would be a lot nicer if he was 1, but I can see why he's at 2. Making your opponent skip a draw phase locks him out of basically playing, so he is really good, but he's definitely a late game card. This card, on the other hand, it only takes 1, and during each of your opponent's standby phases, you can change the battle position of one of their monsters. So that's pretty good. They actually can't change it after you change it too. They have to wait till the next turn. So you can definitely use it to get over problematic monsters where you can't attack over them, but they have low defenses. So it is a good one-of, but you could cut this card if you're not feeling it. Alright, that about wraps up all the water monsters. So now we're just on to pretty standard GOAT format cards. We're going to run 1 Morphing Jar because it's important to replenish your hand. It's important in every format of the game. If you don't have cards in your hand, you're probably not going to win. 1 Breaker, he's too good to not run him. He's 1900 beater, can pop a spell or trap. It's amazing. We run 2 Magician of Faith. This is mostly to recur our field spells if they ever get destroyed, or our spell and traps to help with the lock in this deck. And 1 copy of Sinister Serpent. It's good in every GOAT deck. Oh, actually, and it's a water too, so I guess we have 1 more water monster. He's the best card to pitch for Abyss Soldier too, because he just comes back to your hand, but you guys probably already know that. Alright, that wraps up the monster lineup. Now we're going to get on to the spells. And so we're going to start off with the Trinity. I'm sure all you guys know what these cards do now, but the only one, if you don't know, Delinquent Duo, I feel like I didn't know that one when I was a kid, so I'll just explain that one. You basically pay 1,000 life points, your opponent discards a random card, and then they get to choose one right after, so another card to discard. So basically it's -2, +1, and I guess this is kind of neutral. I don't know. It's a really good card. You're not going to not run it, just trust me. After that, we run triple a Legendary Ocean. This is what makes the lock in this deck possible, and the reason you can summon this guy for free. This card basically downgrades all your water monsters by 1 level and boosts their attack and defense by 200 points. And you're going to use it in combination with Level Limit Area B as well as Gravity Bind. And Level Limit Area B changes all face-up level 4 or higher monsters to defense position. And Gravity Bind makes it so level 4 and higher monsters can't attack. So that's really the lock you're going for with this deck. I feel like it's like the obvious choice of a strategy if I was ever going to make a water deck, which of course that's the one I'm going over in this video because I feel like it's definitely the best one, the most consistent anyways. Also, to go with a Legendary Ocean, I figured since we're running basically 4 ways to stop your opponent's monsters from attacking, we should basically run 4 Legendary Oceans, so we have the 1 Terraforming as well. Alright, after that, we're going to move on to Noblemen of Crossout. We're going to run 2 of him. Really generic, good in almost every single deck from this era. I would definitely recommend running 2 in almost every single deck, and that's why we run 2. Another card that's good in almost every deck from this format is Book of Moon. We're going to run 2 of this as well. This is really good. It helps you with Thousand Eyes. It helps you with really pretty much any type of effect monster that you can't really out. This card is just gonna be your out to it. So we run 2. Could bump it up to 3. This deck already has a pretty good amount of like spell and traps, so I think it's pretty good at 2. After that, we have 1 copy of Mystical Space Typhoon. Spot removal, pretty self-explanatory. Definitely run 1. You would run more if you could. Then we have our 2 equip spell cards, Snatch Steal and Premature Burial. This one brings 1 back from the graveyard. This one steals a monster from your opponent. They're both really good. 2 broken to not run. Would probably run more if you could. Alright, that about wraps up the spells. Outside of the 2 Gravity Binds, you're going to run 1 Call of the Haunted to recur monsters from the graveyard. 1 Ring of Destruction. It's a great card. It was banned for a reason for a long time. 1 Torrential Tribute to blow up your opponent's board, hopefully before you have anything too powerful on the board. 1 Mirror Force, because it's Mirror Force. You have to run it in this form, or in this era. It's too good to not run. And then the 1 card that you don't see in every GOAT deck, but I think is really good in this one, is 1 copy of Solemn Judgment. Might bump this up to more, but honestly, if you haven't played this format before, life points are actually like valuable. It's not like their current meta where it's like basically 1 turn or 2 turns a game. I mean, like, if you have more life points, you're straight up winning in this game, or in this era. So, yeah, it's pretty important to not burn yourself to death with this card. All right, well that about wraps up this video. Oh, actually, you know what? I want to do one other thing too. So this is pretty much the standard, or the way I've been playing this deck. But I was thinking I just wanted to give you some other options of things you could put in. So another card that works really good, since this is a control deck, is the other 2 copies of Solemn Judgment. I'm not really sure what you would take out. Like I said, I really feel like this is a consistent deck, but if there's like 1 card that you feel like always clogs your hand, maybe you could get rid of one of these 2 cards. They kind of clog your hand sometimes, and you could put in the 2nd and 3rd Solemn Judgment. You could add 1 more Terraforming if you feel like you're not drawing your field spell often enough, but I mean, I really think you draw your field spell often enough. 4 chances to draw it is pretty good. We have Triple Trap Dust Shoot. Again, this is a control deck, so traps are really work well here. If you don't know what this card does, you can activate it when your opponent has 4 or more cards in their hand. You look at your opponent's hand, then you select 1 monster from it and return it to the deck. So it's kind of some mind games. You can get rid of problems before they're even on the board, and you'll also know every card in your opponent's hand. So that's really powerful. Don't underestimate that. And then one other monster, I was just sort of playing around with this card. It's not great. Honestly, I'm not trying to tell you that this is a good card you should use, but it's just something you could consider maybe in the side or something. Is Maiden of the Aqua. So if you don't know what this card does, as long as this card remains face up on the field, it's treated as Umi, and that's really all you need to know. You don't get any of the power-up bonuses or the reduced level like you do with a Legendary Ocean. But it's just like another card you can discard to get this guy's destruction effect off. So you could use it. It's just another option, another suggestion you could try out. But again, I recommend the 40 cards that I showed previous to these extra cards. Alright, and then if you're really not feeling how this deck's playing for you, you feel like you want it to be more control-based and you want to cut some cards and switch some things up, another route you could go is I would cut these 5 cards right here. The Fenrir, Aqua Spirit, Giga Gaga Gigu, one of the only Judgment that's in the main deck, and the Terraforming. And I would replace them with the Goat Control Engine with 2 Scapegoat and 2 Metamorphosis. And this works really well because Thousand Eyes is under level 3, which means it can attack under Gravity Bind and level limit Area B. And on top of that, you already run 3 other level 1s that you can hit with Metamorphosis to turn them into Thousand Eyes. You also run, remember, Magician of Faith and Sinister Serpent. So just kind of like an alternate way you could play the deck. It works really well, like I said. So yeah. Well, that about wraps up this video. If you enjoyed, please let me know by leaving a like and maybe even consider subscribing. Also, comment down below what you think your favorite deck is to play from this era. I think for sure mine right now has got to be Gravekeepers, but I don't know, this water one is really fun. You're going to have to give it a try if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next video.